Hey, y'all. And this week on Marriage Minutes at its Pace, we are talking about margins, living in margins.
I guess I was trying to find out where we got this from. I follow a pastor on Instagram by the name of Pastor Keith Battle. And in some of my feeds in the last couple of weeks, a portion of his message on margins came up. And I haven't listened to all of it in its entirety, but I got some good nuggets from it. It is definitely something that I would suggest you all go back and listen to yourself. But basically, it talks about creating margins in your life and how creating margins prevents you from basically running over the lines of your life and creating the chaos in your life, because we don't either plan or prepare. We don't set boundaries in our lives. And so then we're running amok all over the page. If you think about a notebook piece of paper, a ruled line piece of paper, right? It's got margins on the side. It's got a header and a footer at the bottom. And you don't write in those areas outside the lines. And I think that in this society today, we're so busy in our marriages today and in our lives. We're doing so many things that so much of our lives is running all the way back and forth across the paper. And that is why our health is in jeopardy. That is why our marriages and the emotional state of our marriages is in jeopardy. That is why this world is in jeopardy right now, because we don't take the time to breathe. We don't take the time to rest. We don't take the time to prepare properly. And so we're constantly going in to the next thing without having any reprieve or rest from the last thing. I'll say this is a very good example of it. These things, these little demons right here, we keep these demons by our bed. They fall asleep on our chest. We wake up with them and they're right there. And then in the morning, we're pulling them up, and we never create margins with ourselves between this cell phone and the information that we get in our lives. And so we're running back and forth across the pages with this, and we're never able to think. We're not even independent thinkers. Even this, I'm thinking of something because this was in my hand. I don't have independent thoughts anymore. We don't have independent ideas anymore because we're constantly running all the way across the page. We're always in that flight or fight mode where our sympathetic nervous system is always, and we're never resting. And so I want to move into this new year creating some margins in my life so that there's some time for peace. There's some time for relaxation. There's some time, most importantly, for preparation so that I can do what God has for me.
So what would be like a margin? What would that look like?
Well, for me, in terms of my work, I just put it there. That's the one that comes to my mind as quickly as possible. Two things: work. Instead of waiting to the last minute to do things that this part of the year, I have a lighter semester. But I don't get the privilege of saying, okay, I have a light semester and I should back up. No, I should be preparing for the second half of the semester when it gets tight, for the summer when it gets tight, by preparing my syllabi, by ordering my classes, so that once the class gets here, I can just drop, paste, poo. But instead of waiting till, I don't teach on campus this class until March, so I'm just going to wait until February 20th to do it. Okay. Another thing is preparing your home. Like if you are cleaning your home and your home is in order, case in point, my closet looked like a hoarder lived there, like everything is all over the floor. It was a mess. And me and my husband took some opportunities last week to get it in order. And it's so much easier now to go in there and say, okay, I'm going to wear this today and I'm going to put this over here because I have created a margin in my closet that allows me to know where things are and I don't have to scramble. And I'm not taking more time in the moment to find something because I know exactly where it is.
So tell me this, would this be a margin? So like for me at work, I make calls and I receive calls. And so part of me, sometimes when I get too many calls, I just jot them down and then say, okay, I'm going to call these people back, and I have to. And so that's always because I handle my files that way. So would a margin be, because then it became very stressful if I didn't make a call or return a call within, say, 24 hours. And so now I'm like, man, I need to call these people back, but I'm inundated with so much work that now maybe some of these calls never get made. And so one thing I did try is now work them into the process and then return the calls. And so what was a stressful situation now is less stressful, because now I've moved stuff outside of the margin into my workflow, and now it's a lot less stressful. And so now what was difficult now is very easy, so to speak.
Yeah, because you created a margin for your life. And so I think we can do that in many areas. We talked in the other message about being on time or to do things timely. And that's another area for me. Again, I think that if you create a margin, I'm always like, okay, if I have to be there at 8 o'clock, how do I get there by 7:50? No. How do I get there by 7:30? How do I get there by 7 o'clock? And then have an hour worth of work to do once I get there. And yet maybe I'm sitting in the car but at least I'm there. That's stress. That's the stress. And God wants us to rest. He says that his burdens are easy and his yoke is light, but yet we hold on to our yokes that are heavy and burdensome all the time. And I think creating margin in your life is God's way of giving us his yoke.
Yeah. So like something else, like I know for me, what I want to do is I want to utilize my time better, because that's the only resource that I really have that sometimes we give away so freely. And so for me is I want to utilize my time. So things that don't contribute to what my goals are for 2024, I don't really want to spend a lot of time in that. And I'm not, for me. So watching a lot of TV is not beneficial to me because it's not contributing to what my goals are. I have things that desire my attention, that need my attention. I mean, we're looking for colleges and I have to go through that process. And so why wait to the last minute to go through that process of looking for colleges or for whatever other goals that I have on the table? I want to read 2 books a month. And so if I have free time, why not read a book or do the things that I really enjoy versus just allowing myself to be in a nothing box? And nothing boxes are important, but if I can set a time for that versus just allowing it to be haphazard and not have any margins, so to speak, like this thing, I can do a lot with this thing, and I do a lot on the computer. But if I learn how to operate and set a standard for it or a margin for it, then it won't just be willy-nilly, because you can open this thing and then that rabbit hole just gets big and sucks you in. And what goes from just 20 minutes checking your messages now is 3 hours, and that's 3 hours that you lose. And so I definitely understand the margin thing. So how would marriages incorporate margins in terms of collectively? Whatever the goals are, that's what the household does, or?
Well, I mean, I think it comes down to being respectful to whatever the other person's margins are,
Okay.
and trying to implement them yourself. I think that you have to get to a point that what's good for me ultimately is going to be good for you. Absolutely. Because I'm a better person.
Absolutely.
So I don't know that everything has to be worked on together, but I think that as I become a better Rhonda and you become a better Mark, ultimately the Whitehouse becomes better.
Ooh, Whitehouse is better.
Yeah. That's all I got.
That's it.
I'm hungry.
Be well, be blessed. We got to feed the margin. Later.